What comes to your mind when you think of the word failure? Do you believe people have to be born with innate talent in order to succeed in life? Do you find it challenging to own up to your mistakes? Hello everyone, and welcome to another brand new episode on my channel, Wonder Boho Book Club. Today I'll be talking about the book, The Upside of Down. Why Failing Well is the Key to Success, written by McArdle. McArdle is an American journalist, columnist, and blogger based in Washington, D.C. She writes for the Washington Post, mostly about economics, finance, and government policy. In The Upside of Down, Megan shares insights from a variety of experts, such as emergency room doctors, kindergarten teachers, and bankruptcy judges that can help you get back on your feet following a failure and also help you change your approach to life. Before moving ahead, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Part 1. Learning to fail gracefully is the secret. What is success? Success is a journey of self-improvement, self-discovery, and accomplishment. Success is not just about trying, but also about failing. We need to embrace failure as a part of our journey to success. The most successful people are those who are willing to take risks, explore new possibilities, and learn from their mistakes. Creating the right environment encourages people to take more risks and try different things to achieve success sooner than you might think. Some of us are afraid to fail, and so we never try anything new. We don't take risks, or if we do, we don't take enough risks to see anything through. We have a fear of failure, and so our lives are mediocre. Others are willing to risk everything for success. They take on more than they can handle, taking on too much risk for their own good. But in the end, it pays off, because even if you fail, you will have learned something new about yourself or about life in general that you wouldn't have otherwise known had you stayed safe in your comfort zone. In fact, the process of failure is an important part of the learning curve for all successful people, even if they are not always aware that they are learning. Having said that, the fear of failure is one of the most common fears in the world. It affects everyone, from athletes to entrepreneurs, and it affects their performance on a daily basis. But what if we could change the way we view failure? What if we saw it as a normal part of life, something that can be surmounted with hard work and growth mentality? What if we could stop fearing failure so much and instead embrace it as a necessary step to success? The idea that parents should not coddle their children and that they should be allowed to fail is controversial, but research suggests it could lead to better outcomes in the long run, as being constantly told how good we are and how much potential we have creates a vicious cycle that leaves us unprepared for the real world. The people who can fail gracefully are not those who were coddled as children, but those who had to grow up in the real world where failure is a norm. They know that nothing in life comes easy, and they know how to work hard for what they want. Part 2. Predictions are not foolproof. You have to experiment to be sure. Predicting the future is difficult, and often we are wrong. The only way to find out if something works is to try it out. For example, Coca-Cola and Pepsi are two of the most popular soft drinks in the world. They both have a long history in their respective markets, but they also face competition from various other brands of soda, and they have seen their sales drop in recent years. Pepsi's strategy has been to make more drinks with less sugar, and Coca-Cola has focused on using artificial sweeteners. In order to find out which one of these strategies will be successful, they need to test them out. If they don't do this, they could waste millions of dollars on a product that does not work well with their customers. Part 3. Safety systems are not foolproof. Failures can and will happen. Nowadays, we are increasingly reliant on safety systems for our everyday lives, but this makes us even more prone to making mistakes. The more we rely on these systems, the more likely it is that we will become dependent on them. When the system fails, it can be difficult to figure out what went wrong. In the case of a plane crash, for example, there are multiple layers of safety systems. The pilot relies on the instruments in the cockpit to keep them on course while they fly. These instruments are in turn powered by electricity, which is supplied by generators which are designed to withstand any kind of failure. In this way, each layer provides backup for the one below it, and this means that even if one system fails, there will still be others keeping things safe. However, according to a recent study, there are about 4 plane crashes per year, which might result in hundreds of deaths. Part 4. Own up to your mistakes. It's easy to make a mistake, but it's not always easy to admit it. We sometimes find ourselves in a position where we have to cover up our mistakes and act disingenuously. The most common way that we see this happening is when an employee tries to cover up an error that they have made by blaming someone else for it. This can be done by providing false evidence or just not mentioning anything about the mistake at all. They may do this to avoid being reprimanded, or they may do it out of fear of losing their job. This behavior can be a sign of deeper issues like low self-esteem and insecurity. The best way to combat this issue is through training and coaching, as well as setting clear expectations and consequences for situations like these in the workplace. If we are willing to be honest with ourselves and others, we can learn from our mistakes and grow as people. Part 5. Don't bury your head in the sand until it's too late to act. The phrase, "don't bury your head in the sand," is an idiom, which means to ignore a problem and hope that it will go away. It is usually used when someone has a problem that they know about but does not want to think about it, so they try not to talk about it. For example, if you realize that your car has a flat tire and you don't change it right away, then it may get worse and more difficult to fix as time goes on. This is also a psychological phenomenon that can be described as the normalcy bias. This is when people act as if nothing is wrong, even if all signs point to disaster. The normalcy bias can be explained by the fact that humans are wired to avoid uncertainty and panic. It's how we survive in this world, and it has helped us to stay alive for millennia. The best example of this is the story of Kodak. Kodak was a large company that dominated the photography market for decades. They had a huge head start on their competitors, but they failed to see the coming shift in the industry. Kodak's management thought that digital cameras would never replace film cameras, and they didn't invest in them. Kodak's management was so confident that film cameras were going to be around forever that they did not invest any money in digital camera technology, and as a result, they lost all of their market share to companies like Canon and Nikon, who did invest in it. It is important to change course before it's too late. The first step to change course is to identify and acknowledge the problem, which may be difficult for some people. Once you have identified the problem, you can start to explore possible solutions and choose the one that suits you best. The next step is to implement changes that will make a difference in your behavior. The last step is to measure results so you can see if these changes have made an impact. If not, then it's time to rethink what needs to be done differently in order for things to get better. Part 6. Randomness and complexity rule the world. When things go wrong, the simple explanation is not always the correct one. The complexity of any given situation can be hard to understand, and it is easy to jump to conclusions and miss out on other important information. We humans are biased towards our own beliefs, and this can lead to wrong conclusions. We like to think that we are rational beings, but in reality, we often prefer easy-to-understand stories to messy, complex events. This is because the human brain is wired to find the story in everything, as we are social animals, and stories are the most effective way to communicate with others. Our brains have evolved this way as it makes us better at predicting what might happen in the future by associating events with past experiences. In the case of a natural disaster, for example, we prefer to believe that it was caused by an earthquake or a volcano, and not by climate change. We want to understand why disasters happen, and we want them to make sense. When the cause of the event is not clear, or when it's too complicated for us to understand, it's easier for us to not think about it, because then there would be no way for us to fix it. Conclusion. Everyone fails at some point or the other. Everyone goes through tough times. Just remember that asking for help sometimes is okay, and stepping back in order to look at a situation more objectively can work wonders. To be successful, you need to be willing to try new things and learn from your mistakes. Also, sharing risks and rewards with others will lead to a more enriching experience and a more fulfilled life. Thank you for watching this episode. Please don't forget to subscribe. Your comments, likes, and shares are highly appreciated. See you soon in our next episode.